I'm going to put the sleeve on for the woman of the hour. I'm going to invite up my loving mother, Pastor Kimberly Linares.
Thank you, Marco. That was beautiful. Now, didn't that virtuous woman sound like such a perfect woman? She did. And I'm sure she was a beautiful woman as they describe it. There's no perfect mama. Uh, even Mary, don't get offended, but even Mary, the mother of Jesus, wasn't perfect. She lost him a few times and had to go searching around for him. How many of y'all have ever lost your babies somewhere? Not me. I was always one of those mamas. Anywhere that we went, I would keep my little ducklings right by me, and then I'd freak out and start yelling, and they're like, "Mom, I'm right here." I just had to look the other way. So it was, I was one of those mamas. But, you know, I asked Pastor Mark if I could tell my mother-in-law's story, and he said, "Yes, please." You know, it's nothing private, but it is everything that we could call a miracle. um, Last Saturday, it was Marco's birthday, and we decided to go out for the day and take him out, and we had some good family time. And we had gotten a phone call, and they said, "Your mama wants to go home." And we said, "Okay." She was in the hospital there at Methodist, and she said she wants to go home. She doesn't want to be on any machines. She doesn't want to be poked. She doesn't want to be She doesn't want to take medicine anymore. She wants to go home and be with her family. And I believe she knew more than we did, because at the time we said, no, you know, she needs to stay there. She needs to get rehab. She needs to get all the help that she needs. So we carried on with our day that Saturday, and we just waited for phone calls. It was a beautiful day. We spent close to New Braunfels, and we got the phone call that she was headed home. We didn't even think it was going to be that fast, but she was headed home that day. So we got in a vehicle, and I told Pastor Mark, I thought it was on the way out. I told Pastor Mark, I want to go to Buc-ee's. He's like, okay, we have time. So we ran over to Buc-ee's, got a few things, and it was actually fine, but we headed on our way. And our drive ended up taking a little bit longer. And so we got in Saturday evening, and Mama had been there about an hour. So Pastor Mark and I, we walk in the door, and we see her, and they've already got everything set up for her. And the first thing she tells Pastor Mark is, "You're late. What took you so long? You should have been here an hour ago." And I was like, uh-oh. Pastor Mark already got in trouble. You know, first thing that happened. So that Saturday night, we're all, just as a family, we all sat with her. We were taking care of her every need. She didn't really ask for too much. She was kind of weak. You know, we saw that. And so we let her be. She went to bed that night. And then the next morning, last Sunday morning, 7 days ago, her sisters came over and had breakfast with her. And she ate a taco that morning, laughed with Tia Elvira and Tia Stella, and they talked and had a great time. And then we all came to church. And after church, Pastor Mark and I went to go buy some groceries for them. And we got to her house at about 2 o'clock. And we walked in, and I noticed she was sleeping. And I told my father-in-law, I said, let's let her rest. I said, but call us when she wakes up so we can check on her and I can take care of her if she needs anything. He said, okay. So we went home ourselves to rest. And it was about 4:30, and I told Pastor Mark, I said, your dad still hasn't called us. Let's go back and let's check on your mama. So we get there, and I see my mother-in-law. And if you don't know much about me, I do have a nursing history. I went to school, and I saw her, and I said, something's not right. And I knew we couldn't call an ambulance. She didn't want any of that. I said, something's not right. I could tell just by the way her body was moving and things like that. And I said, go ahead and call the family. And so all the family came over, and everybody was talking to her. She wasn't responding. She wasn't reacting. She wasn't moving. I knew myself what I was seeing was a woman that was gone. I didn't say it, but the family saw it themselves. So we let her be. The family cried. They spent time with her. We sang. We did all these things Sunday. Monday came along. did the same thing. Some family came in the morning, they saw, and the nurse came. The nurse came at about 2 o'clock. And at 2 o'clock, they asked all the family that was there. There was probably, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 people in the little house. They asked everybody to go outside. I stayed inside with her. And the nurse said, I don't want to scare you, but I have to do some tests on her. I have to see what she's doing, where she's at. I said, okay. So the nurse violently shook my mother-in-law. I saw it with my own eyes. She hit her in the chest with her fist just to see if she would respond, and she was shaking her. Zero response. She had to kind of like pinch her, do different things just to see if she would respond. Zero response, zero movement. Her eyes were already rolled back. They told her jaw, she had jaw lock. She couldn't even move her mouth. The nurse said, your mother-in-law is already in a coma. She's likely brain dead, and she's already gone. Her body is just breathing. I said, okay. I said, how long do you think she can stay like this? And when I asked that, my mother-in-law kind of opened her eyes a little bit, and the nurse said, oh, that's just how they react. It's muscle movement. Okay. I said, okay. But I knew, I was like, uh-oh. This is Monday morning when the nurse came. This is Monday when the nurse came. I noticed that she kind of responded a little bit. I was like, no, and she told me, she said, that's the way the body reacts. I said, okay. Reflexes, all that. I said, okay. So the nurses did all this, and they told us she's what's called a ketoacidosis coma. The likelihood of her coming back from this is 5%, and even if she does wake up, she'll already be brain dead in a vegetative state. We said, okay. Of course, us walking by faith, we just say okay, but we have faith. But to be quite honest, I was ready to let her go. I said, whatever you want. So Lewis gets a guitar, the nurse leaves. I kind of tell him what's going on. He's playing a little bit of music. And everybody goes to the living room. My father-in-law goes to lay down for a little bit. And I was sitting bedside by her. And I was just praying. Lizzie was right there in the living room. And 2 hours had passed after the nurse left. And I saw my mother-in-law moving her jaw. And I said, it looks like she's trying to say something. I couldn't be too sure. She was kind of fidgeting, so I gave her some medicine to keep her comfortable. I gave her some strong medicine to keep her comfortable. And I looked at her, and I said, Lizzie, you need to come talk to your mom. I think she's leaving. And she said, okay. And she came and she stood over her mother's bedside. And she said, Mama, I'm going to be okay. You can leave if you want to leave. Juan's going to take care of me. I'm going to take care of my brothers and the kids. Everything's going to be okay, Mama. And she nodded her head yes. And Lizzie starts crying, and she says, Mama, I needed that. I just needed to know you were okay. And when we saw her do that, me and Lizzie started crying. I said, get the boys over here. Get them over here now. Wake up, Mr. Linares. Y'all come talk to her. And I said, okay. So everybody rushes over here. Lewis grabs a guitar. And when Lewis grabbed that guitar, he started strumming the guitar. I don't even remember what he was playing, but he started singing to her. And the whole family started singing and harmonizing. It was just beautiful. There was a beautiful anointing in that home. And as he started singing, she said with all the strength that she could grasp, everything that she had in her to come out, she said, I'm going with Jesus. She said it just like that. She was dying. She said, I'm going with Jesus. We said, okay, God, you're giving us a chance to say goodbye. And then she says, I'll fly away. She wanted Lewis to sing, I'll fly away. So Miss Linares starts singing, I'll fly away. Lewis start singing it. The whole family starts singing it. So I immediately get on the phone. She has 7 living siblings. Everybody, I said, y'all better get over here now. She's awake. I don't know how much time she has. I said, she's awake, and y'all need to come talk to her, and y'all need to come say your goodbyes or do whatever you need to do, but get here now. Everybody stopped what they were doing. They all came over. They all started coming in the house. And every person that walked in the door, whether it was a brother, a sister, niece, nephew, she knew exactly who they were, and she gave every single person a word. And it was a word directly from heaven. And they all cried, and every time we thought, man, she's leaving or something, she would wake up and she'd be like, oh, hey, Jojo. And she would give him a word. It was almost funny because we thought she was leaving, but she didn't, you know. She was getting stronger. Her breath was getting stronger. Her voice was getting stronger. She was smiling. And we were singing. And one of her brothers said, while everybody was there, he said, it's okay, Ellie. They call her Ellie. It's okay, Ellie, if you need to go. I'll see you again. And she did just like this. No. You'll only see me again if you say yes to Jesus. And he nodded his head yes. And so at that time, Pastor Mark came. And by that point, all the siblings were there. All the cousins were there. The nieces, nephews, everybody was there. Big family. And Pastor Mark said, my mother is trying to tell you something. She's telling you, and she's here. I don't believe for me. She's not here for my kids. She's here because she wants all of y'all to be saved. And he told the story about her seed. And he said, if you want to be saved, repeat after me. And he did the sinner's prayer. And everybody in that home said the sinner's prayer. And they all said yes to Jesus. It was absolutely beautiful. And she sang and she sang and she sang with her family, and everybody cried. We saw a literal miracle in front of our eyes. Somebody was literally risen from the dead. If you don't believe in miracles, you're more than welcome to go see my mother-in-law. She woke up from death. I don't need to go in a lot of details of what I saw, but when I tell you she was gone, she was gone. Gone. And one of my kids said, she's like, Mom, well, Bella, she said, Mom, I believe in God and I know God is real, but he's like real. I said, yeah, he is. That's why we all have to have our lives right, because we want to be with Jesus. And to this day, my mother-in-law is still holding on. And, you know, just when I think personally, oh, she's getting weak, things aren't looking good, she wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning wanting to eat this morning, wanting to eat and have breakfast and sit up. She hadn't even been able to sit up. She wanted to sit down. So I don't know what God has. I don't know where he's taking her. But what I do know is just when you think you know what's going on, God says, I have the ultimate say, and I'll decide when. So never give up. Never give up. Never think it's over. Never think that you're not worth it, because God ultimately has the last say. You know, several weeks ago, Pastor Mark preached on the full armor of God, and it was a beautiful series that he did. And the scripture says this out of Ephesians 6:10 through 13. It says, finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the evil day comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything to stand, stand. This is the point in our life where we have, as a family, have been so faithful to God. When we sit and when we sing around our mother-in-law, her body had to submit. It did. Her body had to submit. Now, will there be a time that we have to let go? Sure. But I cannot tell you if it's anytime soon. I can't. Only God has that say. And the only way that we can continue to stand as a family is if we continue to stand strong. And the only way we stand strong is not by our own strength, but it's by the strength that God gives us. Because we should be falling apart as a family, but instead, you know what we're doing? We're getting stronger. We're getting closer. We're giving more thanks to God for what he's doing because we're on grace time right now. We shouldn't even been allowed the time that we're given, but by the grace of God, he's given it to us. When we should be weak, God has given us strength. And we are so grateful. We have to submerge ourselves. Submerging means just submerging ourselves in prayer and in the Word. And when we do that daily, he walks through with us every day. We have not had one need these past couple weeks. God has helped us. I've gained like 6 pounds because everybody's just bringing food and they're helping us. People are cutting grass and doing, we couldn't ask for more. Flowers are coming in and out, and my mother-in-law just lights up every time. And we're just so blessed. Church, San Juana, I saw you in that video, and your hair was long and dark, and San Juana, you could have easily gotten mad at God when your husband left, Steph, your daddy left. You could have been mad at God. You could have forget this. And I remember when your husband was leaving, Pastor, he was barely holding on, and Pastor Mark walked into that hospital room. And as soon as Pastor Mark walked into that hospital room, that's when his spirit left. God graced that family to wait for Pastor Mark to get there to give comfort. And God has his ways. But too often we give up on God because things happen in our life and we don't understand. When God's just saying, hold on, and you give up on God and you walk away from him because you got offended or something bad happened in your life, and you give up on everything because God is punishing you. God's not punishing you because God's been there for us the entire time. We punish ourselves by walking away and giving up on him when he's the only answer. So I encourage you today, family, to hold on, hold steady, hold strong, keep going, keep pushing, don't give up. Because sometimes things don't seem good. More people should be in church. Family, we're in the last days. We are. So sometimes it's hard to see a church full, but there will be. But we have to stand strong. We have to stand steady. Because we don't want to be those people that are so desperate for God because there's so much chaos going on around them. We want to be the ones helping those people when they get desperate for God. Amen. But let's stand strong. You are more than welcome to go see my mother-in-law. Just limit it to 5 minutes. Don't talk her ear off because you'll wear her out. Just say hello, give her a hug, and just so she loves seeing people, and you're more than welcome. And everybody's coming in and out, and she's really blessed when people go see her. But if you want to see a true miracle, you are more than welcome. And we ask that you as a church continue to stand with us. My mother-in-law did talk to Mark, and she's told him some details, and so we are just being patient, and we're laughing with her, loving on her. We're going to spend the day with her, and we thank you as family for taking care of us. We appreciate it. So let's give God a great hand clap for his great miracles.